Leafs with a statement win to end Colorado's 17-game home winning streak. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centered podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. What's happening, Dave? How we feeling? Thank you for taking the reins last week. I'm back. That's how I was a little worried about coming back because I'm like, man, the Leafs are playing so
good. That was my thing. It's like, Mike, you just want to make that vacation permanent so that the Leafs.
I mean, I would. Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah. If y'all want to, pay me to stay away and make sure that the Bud put me on the Bud's payroll to stay in the Caribbean, and we could all be happy. We could all prosper.
Dude, at this rate, you might as well just call it the Leaf Cruise. You just stay there until while the Leafs are playing.
Sure, yeah.
It'll be on the Leafs' dime because they can afford it, and
right.
They pay you to be on the cruise, and maybe that's will end up ending the keep the streak going. Yeah,
I mean, I was happy. I got back on land, and they kept it going last night in Colorado. So I was able to finally, sit down and watch my first Leaf game in a week. Been keeping tabs, watching some highlights, obviously listening to the podcast to make sure I'm up to date on what's going on with the Maple Leafs. And they were streaking. And the streak is kept alive. That's now 10 straight games with the Leafs recording at least 1 point, and that's now 4 wins in a row. And Dave, probably their biggest win to date with a 4-3 win in overtime against the league-leading Colorado Avalanche, handing them their first loss on home ice since pre-Halloween. Pre-Halloween, Dave. They haven't lost the game since then, 17-0 on home ice. They went into Denver. They beat him in OT. I mean, with a statement win like that, how much does that actually legitimize this 8-0-2 run that the Leafs have been on since firing Mark Savard?
Oh man, that's the thing. It's like everyone's been like, well, the Leafs have been doing well ever since they did this certain move, and I feel so bad for Mark Savard because he's kind of being used as that was the problem. And it's like, well, yes and no. There's, I can't say it's totally irrelevant, but this team is just looked so different. And I think the struggles when you have a locker room that's strong, everything you can find a way out of it. I don't know if you saw Auston Matthews talk about him, Easton Cowan, Scott Lawn, and they were talking about the power of friendship that the Blue Jays were talking about last year. There seems to be a little bit more of that than maybe we've seen in the past. But, I mean, it's not just that. It's also, they haven't allowed all the negativity to pour into the room like it has in other locker rooms right now. I'm not going to name a specific team right now, but I think we all know which team is having a little bit of issues right now.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to name the team, but you can go and listen to Ross and Pilsy if you want to hear about locker room turmoil.
Or maybe not if they're trying to avoid the constant heartburn that's coming from that team. But I do think that's played a bit of a factor, the closeness of the team, and just it's the overall contributions. We talked about Auston Matthews has to play better for this team to be good. Okay, he's played better. But it's not just because of Auston Matthews that this is happening. He's certainly a factor in all this, but I think it goes to show what Craig Berube has been wanting from this entire team, which is it can't be one player, it can't be two players, it can't be a core four. It has to be everyone in the lineup.
The team, man. It's a team, and last night that was a team win, right? Auston Matthews scored, sure. Nylander gets the overtime winner, but you get another goal from Bobby McMann. You need that type of secondary scoring from the Maple Leafs, and they got it, right? So it's really been a team game for Toronto, I would say, really over the course of the last few weeks here. Like, it's been a really good stretch of hockey here for the Maple Leafs. And you mentioned it. The biggest part is that Auston Matthews is looking like his old self again, his MVP self. And it's funny, man, we talked about it on Christmas. We're like, what do the Maple Leafs want to put on their Christmas wish list? We both said they need Auston Matthews back to being an MVP caliber player. And that's exactly what he's been. And last night, I mean, look at the goal that he scored. Like, that's just vintage Auston Matthews, right? Picks up some speed through the neutral zone, and notices that he's got a little bit of space between him and the defender, is able to make that move, curl, drag it, shoot through the defender, use him as a screen, and just snap it right into the back of the net. Like, that's vintage Auston Matthews. And he's averaging a goal per game since Marc Savard departed from the team. And obviously, we're not blaming Savard. He wasn't the reason why this team, was held back. Like, he wasn't holding the back, but that put a jolt in the team, put a jolt in this group to really get it kicked into gear. And, one win led to, one win right before Christmas, allowed them to breathe. They came back, got that big win against the Ottawa Senators. The power play is cooking right now. Like, they've had one of the best power plays since Christmas as well, league wide. So there's a multiple reasons for why we're seeing the Maple Leafs go on this run, go on this stretch, Matthews being the biggest. But when you look at it from an all-encompassing standpoint, Dave, last night's win against the Colorado Avalanche was really encouraging, and to me, completely legitimized what we've seen out of this team, and makes me believe that they are back to being, a playoff pedigree team, a contending team, if you will. You go toe-to-toe with Colorado in their own barn and beat them, ultimately win the game. I mean, you're a contender, right? Like, you are. And you look at the stretch. I mean, they've picked up all but 2 points over the last 10 games, and they're finally in a playoff spot for the first time since November. Like, they've been on a nice little run here, Dave, and capping it off with a win in Denver and being in Colorado. That's big. Like, we can't dismiss this. And, I know you got to keep it going. You can't just look at one little 10-game stretch in a season and be like, all right, this team is going to win a cup now. No, of course not. They've got to keep it going. But man, was this game last night ever one of the more encouraging wins that we've seen, just to kind of legitimize and put the cherry on top of what has been a very successful couple weeks here for the Maple Leafs. Yeah,
and look, like, this Colorado team has only lost 3 games at home, and all of them have been outside of regulation.
Yeah.
Right. And so that to me is the big kicker in all this, is that coming into this game, I was like, man, it's going to be so tough. Like, this Avalanche team has so many things going for it. And you saw it right off the hop. Right off the hop, this team was just like, Colorado's like, okay, yep, the Leafs have been on a heater, but we're still the Colorado Avalanche. And like, I know some people I was talking to a little bit, they're like, man, this pregame, the pregame, like, everyone was talking about Colorado and them being a wagon, and it was almost like they were already giving an excuse for if the result wasn't in the Leafs' favor, right? There was already that predetermined, and that's, I think, what impressed me most about the win, is that if they lost, nobody would have been like really like upset if they had lost. But the fact that they went on and won, I think a lot of people are like, oh, there we go. Like, yeah, like a win did more for them than a loss, right? Like, the loss, as you mentioned, like, kind of already built in. Now, if they would have got absolutely dummied, then I think you probably would have been like, well, you look at the schedule, you could have said, they've got a couple like cupcake wins against some non-playoff teams, against teams that aren't playing very well. You could kind of look at the schedule and say, that's why they were 7-0-2. But no, I think you now look back on the last 10-game slate, and you just say, hey, Toronto's playing great. Toronto's playing very well, and they're playing like a team that can win the tough games, playoff games, tight games, blowout games. They've got a couple big shutouts, in that stretch. Like, they're winning games in multiple different ways.
which is very nice to see. And to cap it off with a win against Colorado, to me is just kind of a little cherry on top, but got to keep it going, right? That was game one of a back-to-back. They got the Utah Mammoth in town, or I guess they're traveling to Utah as they continue this Western road trip. So that'll be tonight. We'll tee up that game in a little bit, but let's continue to break down the Maple Leafs win over the Avalanche on the other side. 3 stars of the game coming up next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game, FanDuel users get a profile boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to bets you like most. Just open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts that you lean into the game day instincts, whether you're back in momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profile boost to get even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack of every NFL game day. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes of the Locked On Leafs podcast, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more. All built for our most loyal fans. Click on the link in the podcast description below to learn more and join our team's community. All right, Dave, the Maple Leafs with a big 4-3 win over the Colorado Avalanche in overtime put them in a playoff spot for the first time since November. Yes, 53 points gives them the number 1 spot in the wild card race. So the Maple Leafs leapfrog the Buffalo Sabres, who still can't lose hockey games, I guess. And they are now in the first wild card spot. The whole division can't lose right now. Like, I don't know if you've taken a look at the division.
It's ridiculous.
Dude, like this is why it's like the Leafs are 8-0-2 and have barely picked up any ground over the last 10 games, because the Sabres, they're 8-2 over that stretch, and they have a 10-game winning streak in that stretch. The Tampa Bay Lightning are on a current 10-game winning streak right now. The Montreal Canadiens 7-2-1 in their last 10. Detroit have won 4 in a row. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10, leading the Eastern Conference. It's insane. Like the Florida Panthers over 500 in their last 10 games as well. So it's tough to pick up points in the Atlantic Division, and or tough to pick up ground in the Atlantic Division, because everyone seems to be winning, which is why, again, man, like, tough road trip coming up. They got one in Colorado last night. They got another against the Utah Mammoth. We'll get to that. We'll preview that game in just a second. But to go back to last night, very impressive victory. And they win at 4-3 in overtime. Dave, who were your 3 stars of the game?
I got to start with Joseph Woll. That was such a hard game for him.
Yeah.
The Leafs were badly, you look at what Colorado did so well. They outchanced the Leafs in the high danger area. Like, I think it was 9-2, 5-1 in the first period. Like, yes, Colorado scored 2 goals in the first, but they were all over the Leafs in that first period. And it almost felt like the Leafs just needed to hold on in that first period to give themselves a chance, and then eventually things ended up working out later on in the game. They got a little bit better, but if Joseph Woll doesn't stand on his head, especially in the early part of that first period, they don't win that hockey game.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely agree. And there's a few other, big saves he obviously made throughout the rest of the game. But the early part of that first period, Colorado was coming on. Like they really were. I think they were out shooting Toronto like 5-1 in the first 8-9 minutes of that hockey game. Nathan McKinnon had a really good opportunity. Like it could have been 2-0 in the first 10 minutes, but Joseph Woll definitely played very well at the start of the game to kind of keep the team in it. Did end up giving up a couple of goals, obviously, but it could have been uglier. I thought the team did settle in after that, though, and kept Colorado at bay, kept them to the outside, really neutralized their speed as much as possible, didn't give up a whole lot of odd man rushes or breakaways really at all, which was something I was concerned about, taking on a speedy team with a guy like Nathan McKinnon on the other side. They did a good job of keeping him in front of them, didn't allow him to get in behind a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, Joseph Woll made some big time stops. Gotta give some love and stick taps to the crossbar there in overtime. I thought that thing was in like that. I thought
it went off the crossbar and in. That's what I thought
too. Yeah, I thought McKinnon had called game there, but stick taps to the crossbar, and I'm sure Joseph Woll gave his crossbar a little kiss at the end of the game for that one. But a couple really nice stops, throughout the game. I thought the poke check that Joseph Woll had right after Matthews scored 2 was big to kind of hold the lead. He had one on Cale Makar as well. He had a couple big stops last night to keep the team in it when they were down early, and then obviously kept it low scoring enough for Toronto to come through in overtime and win the game. So yeah, I think Joseph Woll definitely deserving of a star. Was that your first star or your third star?
First star.
All right, yeah, second star.
Second star, I'll go with Auston Matthews.
Yep.
What a goal. What a freaking goal that was. Like, that's Auston Matthews to a T. That's what we've been missing from what? October, November, part of December?
Probably a little longer than that. Probably, since
Marc Savard was
late 2024.
So let's say
it's been a year and a half. We've been missing that for a year and a half, Dave.
Sure. Okay. I mean that. Yeah, I guess you can go further back for that for sure. It's just unbelievable. Like, I do wonder. Yeah, there's probably something physically where maybe he's feeling good about something right now. Like, he's feeling better with whatever he's dealing with, and he's kind of found his stride a little bit more offensively. I think there's still areas, obviously, that are, you can tell the speed isn't always there for him, but
it does feel like the speed is coming back, though, doesn't it? At least the burst. I feel like the burst, like the goal last night, felt like he picked up a little bit of a step through the neutral zone and kind of backed up the defender. That gave him that space to be able to kind of curl the puck inside and shoot through the defender, where, typically throughout, the last year and a half, he hasn't really been that dominant player that's been able to do that. That's scared defenders into backing up, and they've been able to step up and put a stick on him and not really, to just completely neutralize him as a threat. But now that he's got that swagger back, that little burst back, he's skating better. He's skating, weaving in and out of traffic to get open again. I think Matthews, there's a couple of things that's allowed him to get back to being this guy. Like, he's got 8 goals last 8 games since, again, the Marc Savard firing. But he's been a big catalyst for why this team is where they are right now, back into a playoff spot. And, you even saw the little celebration, if you caught it on the broadcast, but the little smirk he was giving the Avalanche players who's flipping him the bird. He's just like, hey, I just took the lead. You all might lose in regulation. You came to see a game. They'd won 17 in a row in this barn, but now they're trailing the third period. Like, that doesn't happen to Colorado. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Leafs gave up a goal. They had to get it done in OT. But, yeah, man, Auston Matthews, I thought offensively, defensively, made a couple nice, back checks, couple steals, takeaways as well. Thought he had a really solid all-around 200-foot game last night.
Yeah, I thought so too. And, like, there was that breakaway that I think it was a Josh Manson that he got past, where it didn't look like a lot, but he found found the seam, found the right time to pick up his speed and get past him, and almost score. Like he didn't get enough on the attempt. I think Manson took it off the line. I think that's what had happened. And so like that play there signals that's Auston Matthews, what we've been expecting, right? He's not going to be the Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid absolutely blow you away with speed from one end to the other. It's picking his spot to know when to use his speed to get himself into a scoring situation.
Right. And I thought he did that very well. I was concerned the penalty he took late in the game. Thought that could have possibly, been a dagger potentially for the Buds, but no, the Leafs did a great job. I mean, that penalty kill has been fantastic this season, and they continue to be a big part of why this team is in the position that they're in. Big reason for the turnaround as well. On top of Matthews, the penalty kill, just not allowing much of anything. They did allow one goal, but they came up with a big kill when it mattered late in that game to pick up their captain. All right, Dave, your third star of the game.
Third star of the game is the OEL William Nylander connection in overtime.
Oh, you like that, did you?
It was just you saw. I mean, first off, they almost got they had to quickly regroup after almost getting scored on there with the McKinnon blast.
Yeah,
but the play from just not giving up on the play. OEL recognizing Nylander on the other side. Nylander I give the Avalanche a lot of credit because, I mean, was it not a year ago that the Avalanche didn't have any goalies? And now Trent Miner is all of a sudden he's almost like their Dennis Hildeby, where he's coming in and playing so well that they can actually use him more than you would a third goaltender right now. But he played a great game, and then Nylander just found the right shot, was able to get it off. I wasn't sure if he was going to score from there just because of how tough it was to get goals in this game. But I mean, credit Nylander, he's looked good since he's returned. OEL, that's gonna be a nice little connection for them in the Olympics, just not against Canada.
Yeah. Little Swedish connection there. I mean, Nylander, 3 goals in 2 games since coming back. I mean, yeah, guy's been pretty solid for the Buds. I do want to give a quick shout out. I'm surprised Bobby McMann didn't make your 3 stars.
He was close.
I thought he was great last night. I mean, again, 200-foot player. He had a couple of takeaways, led the team with 6 shots on net, scored a goal, caused another goal, the Easton Cowan goal, by just going to the net, right? Cowan centers it. Was supposed to be a little backdoor feed to McMahon, goes off of Burns is skating into the net. So, he's kind of the causation of 2 goals there. And he played his way up onto the top line, ended up playing, the end of the game was up with Matthews and Domi. So, I thought that he played fantastic last night. It's nice to see Bobby continue his hot play as of late and get rewarded with a goal. Just, again, a guy who utilizes his speed, gets a good shot off the rush with no one around him on a little breakaway, and big goal at that moment to tie the game early in the second period. And I thought that he was just great. A couple big defensive plays that he was able to make, full 200-foot efforts from Bob McMann, and he got some love from the coach post game as well. So I just want to give him a little honorable mention. Thought he played really well last night.
The big part about it too is everybody that was losing their minds over Bob McMann coming off the top line, and rightfully, there was some justification because he's been playing so well. But Bob McMann he needs to show that he doesn't need to play top line minutes to be effective, right? That was the big part of it. Nick Robertson goes down with the injury, so you need someone to be able to step up. That's what you got Bob McMann for. He can play in those minutes. And so the speed he provides, the size, the one thing we were talking about with some of my friends last night is the Leafs just need more speed. They need more guys like Bobby McMann. You don't need small, speedy guys. You need bigger bodies that can skate. And he's exactly what and exactly why I think the Leafs can't be, people can't be writing him off when it comes to whether to keep him or not. Like, I think he is a pivotal piece you need to really consider bringing back because of that element that he brings, that they don't have a lot of guys doing it.
Yeah, they were talking about that on the broadcast, how the time for getting Bob McMahon on like a team-friendly deal is probably passed. He's got 14 goals, 24 points in 44 games. Like, what do you think Bob McMahon's next contract looks like? Like, it's almost as if people are talking about Bob McMahon, almost like he's like Zach Hyman level. Hey, got to keep this guy. He's going to be expensive, but can't let him go. Like, how expensive do you think this guy really could be? I don't know if Bobby McMahon really gets to a point where the Leafs can't re-sign him. Like, I don't think he'll be making that type of cake where he's, walking for more money than the Leafs are able to give him. No.
There are going to be some teams are just so because it depends on what's out there in free agency. Like, they'll go with the next available option, obviously. But I'm not.
He's making 135 right now, which is clearly lower than.
Yes, he's gonna get more than that.
Yes.
But like, I'm not gonna be like saying, like, I think Kipper was saying what, in the 4s, 4 or 5. It all depends. If he's a constant fixture in the top 6, that's what top 6 guys get. But the thing is, the Leafs they're pretty busy on the wing. Like, and you just get like think about the Max Domi contract and why people don't like it. Yeah. You can't turn around and say, okay, let's give Bobby McMahon $4 to $5 million when it's like, okay, but then what happens when he's got a bit of an inconsistent streak and he has to go lower down the lineup? That's another. I don't think I wouldn't call it a boat anchor contract, but it's another one of those deals where it's like, okay, maybe he's not worth that. Like, it all depends on situations and how and when he's playing. And we also know the other part is he plays so well in the regular season, and then the playoffs come around, and Bob McMahon wasn't there, right? Like, that was a big issue against Florida. He was like, they did not have this type of Bobby McMahon. If we get that Bobby McMahon, that's a different story. But that's a lot of what ifs, and I don't know if the Leafs are in a position right now to keep giving these type of players that type of raise as well.
Yeah. Like, I'm looking, like, yes, he's been great during this 8-0-2 run. He's got 5 goals in that stretch, 8 points, which is fantastic, right? Need that secondary goal scoring for McMahon. But, like, again, you talk about the inconsistencies. Prior to that, he had, how many games did he have? Like, the stretch prior wasn't nearly as good. Let me see, dating back to, what was this? Basically like a full calendar month, I guess. So from November 15th to December 18th, so a 14-game stretch, he only had 3 goals. Like, 3 goals, 6 points, and was only, what was he averaging here? 14 minutes a night, not in the top 6. So, I don't know. It's interesting. I look at him. He's very streaky. Like, there was a segment here earlier this season, game 5 through 12, where he went pointless in a 7-game stretch. So,
like, he is a very streaky player, and you have to, like, if people are like, again, I say it, if people were not happy with what Max Domi got because he's not bringing it every single night. We can't be looking to give Bobby McMahon whatever he wants either.
No, I probably look at it more like the Dakota Joshua contract, where it's like low 3s, as I would Domi, where it's high 3s, right? Like, exactly. I think I see McMahon like 3.25, on like a 3-year deal. But the guy's he's not young too. Like, keep in mind, he broke into the NHL at 27 years old. Like, he's 29, he'll be 30 by the time they got to get this contract sorted out. So how much, like, how long do you really want to sign a 30-year-old? Like, there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of tread gun on the tires. I get that for Bobby, but like, the wheels could fall off there. So I'm thinking,
he's not like a premier penalty killer. Like, he's not doing that for you either. So how much do you value those other things. And like I was looking, so actually Dakota Joshua signed his contract when he was 28.
Yeah,
If I'm not wrong.
probably.
So like that is a pretty good comparable because like Dakota Joshua had I think 18 goals
Yeah.
before he signed that deal. So yeah, maybe like that to me is a pretty good comparable, maybe a little bit more just because he is scoring. He'll probably surpass what Dakota Joshua had, but like Dakota Joshua also was in a different position when he signed that contract versus now. And I think people need to realize that's what happens with those deals, with those players going to UFA. To keep them around, you do have to give them a little bit more. It's just how much more do you really want to pay him?
Yeah, that and Dakota Joshua had a big playoff run with the Canucks the year prior as well, before getting that contract. So playoff success definitely played a role in that deal for him too.
Yes.
So, if Bobby McMann can find a scoring touch in the postseason and give the Leafs that secondary scoring that they really need, I mean, it's a different story, I guess. Like that's a completely different story if he could do that. Now, you are talking, in the fours if he can give you that playoff production. But to this point, I'm still hovering in the threes, not quite up to the 4 million that was thrown out there by Kipper on the broadcast yesterday. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm not. Yeah, you're right. I'm not there yet either.
Yeah. All right, we'll put a bow on this game here. Quality win, character win, but they move on. That was night 1 of a back-to-back. Night 2 later tonight, going into Utah to take on the Mammoth. We'll preview that game next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled QUO, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number. That's what makes Quo just so much easier and simple to use. Nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversations thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solo operators to growing teams. So make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNHL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNHL. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you today as the Maple Leafs look for their 5th straight win and look to continue their 10-game point streak that they've been on here since pre-Christmas. And they got to do it against the Utah Mammoth, who've been a pretty good team. They've had a good season, the Utah Mammoth had. But since becoming the Mammoth, Dave, Toronto has had no problems against Utah. Prior, when they were the Arizona Coyotes, they had all problems with that Arizona team. They just could not pick up wins against Arizona. Remember that stretch of like 20 years where the Leafs couldn't get a win at Scotiabank Arena /ACC? Like 20 years before they had a regulation win against them. It was kind of wild. But the 3-0, against the Utah Mammoth, since they switched their name to the Mammoth /Hockey Club, and did win 5-3 earlier this season in the one only other time that these two teams played each other, 5-3. It's night 2 of a back-to-back. Utah's been sitting around. They haven't played since the 11th. How do you expect tonight's game to play out here, Dave?
Yeah, I mean the Mammoth are an interesting team because right now they're kind of like they're in a similar situation to Leafs where they're kind of in and out of a playoff spot.
Mhm.
They're a better team at home, so that's something that the Leafs will have to keep in mind with that. They've dealt with some injuries, like Logan Cooley's kind of been in and out. He's also taken some tough hits lately. Like this is a team that's certainly a lot better than we had seen from the Arizona days. And I mean, we all remember the game last year with maybe Simon Benoit decides he wants to churn up another attempt at the Superman punch.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll actually land it this time when he tries it. But I mean, look, Clayton Keller, pretty good player. Nick Schmaltz is actually having a pretty decent season.
Very good season. Yeah.
For them. Dylan Guenther, that's like if you're looking at the player to watch for them, goal scoring wise, he's their best goal scorer. I think maybe that's the one thing about Utah is they don't they got guys that can score. JJ Peterka as well, Logan Cooley, but like Dylan Guenther's like their premier scoring talent, I would say.
Oh yeah, for sure he is. But they got a couple other good players, obviously, to keep an eye on. But that Karel Vejmelka has been terrific in net for them this year, so he's been a big reason that they've been able to kind of keep them at bay. He leads the NHL with 20 wins this season, which is kind of surprising that your leader's sitting there with 20 wins and it's Karel Vejmelka. Didn't expect to see that, but here we are. But yeah, 900 save percentage, 263 goals against. Like those are, both in around league average, but they're winning games and they're scoring goals. So that's something that Toronto's definitely going to have to be concerned with. But if they just have the same mindset that they had against the Colorado Avalanche, where they, limit the speed of that young Utah team, and if they can themselves just muster up some chances, get in those scoring positions, they should have an opportunity to win this hockey game and kind of keep their streak alive. I do think that they're the better team, they're the deeper team. So for me, I think Toronto, they've put themselves in a position, especially with that win last night, where they can look at themselves in the mirror on most nights and say, hey, I think that we're the better club and we should be able to win. And they've got confidence now, lots of confidence. And, you're seeing it play out with a lot of different players. So, yeah, I think that this is going to be a good matchup tonight. I would say that last night was the litmus test. So it's not as though this is a measuring stick game for the Maple Leafs, but it's one where you got to just make sure that, last night it doesn't go meaningless and they pull together a good string of good games after it, right? Like you just got to kind of carry it forward and carry it onward in the next couple of games here. So you're on the road, the rest of the teams in your division continue to win games. You got to continue to win too, right? Like you got to keep up with the Joneses in this Atlantic division. So, it's an important game for Toronto going into Utah that, they've won some games here lately. They lost their last game to Columbus 3-2 in overtime, but they've won 3 straight prior to that. A little bit of an easier schedule. They haven't had a playoff opponent in the last 5 games, so Toronto should give them a much bigger test than they've had of late. So hopefully the Leafs can replicate last night's performance and give the Mammoth a good go here tonight.
Yeah, that's the big one. There is don't let a team that that you should beat. Don't lose this momentum that you're on right now. Like the Leafs haven't. Again, I get it back to back, but this is a team you should be able to beat on the second half of a back to back.
The Hildebeest going to be the starter in net tonight as well. So another chance to see what the Hildebeest can do here against the Utah Mammoth. Any final comments you want to make here, Dave, before we wrap it up for the day?
No, I just want to hopefully see a good second half of back-to-back performance and keep this streak going, because you're in a playoff spot right now, but that can easily change. And I want to see how far they can really push this, because they do need to be nice to get a little bit of cushion from this jammed up wild card position.
Yeah, well, it would be nice to separate themselves from the pack A little bit. Nick Robertson, unlikely to play in tonight's game, I would say, after leaving last night's game with an injury, blocking a shot. There was no update post game. But if there is going to be a lineup change, I'd imagine it's Nick Robertson. Could possibly miss the game here, and someone else comes in to take his place. But outside of that, I don't expect any lineup changes other than Hill to be coming in net, obviously, on the second half of back-to-back, and probably a replacement for Nick Robertson. Outside of that, probably run it back with the very similar lineup that they had last night in their win over the Colorado Avalanche. All right, Dave, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at _Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow to recap Leafs and Mammoth. Until then, go Leafs go, and keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.